Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Bom dia, Vasco.
Bom dia, buenos días.
How are you? Fine. Buenos días, Juanma. Nina. Good morning, Karel.
Buenos días, Antonio.
Okay. So, everything is ready. Morning, nice, Claudia. Bom dia, Aurora.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tony Caro from Bilbao in Spain.
Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Good
Are you
morning.
from Tony, are you from a cluster or from a social entity, or could you?
I'm from the University of Deusto, but I'm working in a position connecting the university and different stakeholders. I'm working on social innovation ecosystems.
It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, while we wait for other participants, I will explain very quickly for those that are new. Okay, that we have defined a very concrete methodology just to enabling everybody to speak and contribute to the reflection. So we want to be quite strict with the times. There are 3 blocks. The first one is about the conceptual framework. Today, it will be dedicated to hear Karel van der Poorten. He will introduce us to the main concept for today, and he will also comment about the activities that they are developing from their area. And later we will have two blocks, one dedicated for needs and the other one for potential solutions. The proposal is to limit the time that everyone could spend for 3 minutes maximum per person. And the idea is to give all of you the possibility to speak if possible. It depends on the number of the attendants, okay? That's the proposal. At the end, we will try to define, if possible, clear actions, and Hilary is taking care of writing them down, okay? We will try also to follow them in the next days or weeks, okay? That's the general idea. We will start immediately. Welcome, Karel. Are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Do you want to present something?
No, I have no PowerPoint, but I can show some stuff online. I think that's more useful than slides. So if you don't mind.
Yes, you have now the capacity.
Okay. I'm just trying to get away the screen of webcams because that's a bit, maybe, can I close it? I think, yeah, okay, perfect. And you can still see me. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Good morning to all of you and welcome. Thank you very much for giving me and my unit the opportunity to present another part of our activity. You are of course all experts in clusters, in the quick response that clusters are showcasing right now in the fight against Corona, the makers, the open sources that were used and shared between SMEs within the clusters, and the role of the clusters itself to channel this information and to connect the dots. So that is a little bit where I will not talk about today. I will especially try to give you a sneak preview of what social economy and the civil society as a whole are trying to do, or at least from our perspective from the European Commission. As you can see, we try to act as well to mobilize our community. Of course, we have no such a structured network as the clusters, which is a huge added value for European policymakers. If you have a cluster collaboration platform where clusters are connected, where cluster managers are active, etc. So that gives a very good fallback position, which is very reliable. Our stakeholders are also very reliable, but they all work in very different modes. They have all very different activities, from complete economic actors to associations that have only partly economic activities, to civil society that are basically working on the future of citizens and well-being of citizens and local development, not only economically but also social. So that is a bit a different perspective, but that gives also a huge richness and variety. So we just started a very let's say crazy exercise with just out of the wild a collection of good practices. So we set up this page, Social Economy in the Fight Against Corona. These online sessions are now the ones that I will talk about in a few minutes, but this is not how we started. We started actually with this, sharing expertise and consult best practices. So we did it very much in social economy style. So we just started an open crypt bet, which is here. It's loading because there are my internet connection is not the best, and it's full of examples, but I will show it over here because this is an open doc where everybody can contribute. You see in the bottom the different typologies. So social economy best practices. So this means if a social enterprise is doing something, you have volunteering actions, platform digital services to offer to localities and to to cities, the technology for medical equipment, which is mainly your type of activities, but also the flood of webinars, online sessions are stored over here. Funding stream, so specific finance that is made available via philanthropy, via impact investors, via crowdfunding, via the state, so statements and guidances, which is a bit the political aspect, policy, so the many policy activities and research. So what we are doing is a collection via this open CRITPad where everybody can just drop their ideas, and we try to mainstream it a little bit in these categories. So this is what you see over here. I guess we have around 200 initiatives in all these different categories. And this is how we try to map them. So title, short description, member state, and of course the link. This is just to share and to make the world known what is happening today in the many countries. So we hope also that people are finding good expertise if they want to do something that they can just copy. So this is a bit what we are doing. It's the last 2 days are not added yet, so these are not yet in there, so don't worry if you added something and it's not online. We are trying to do it as much as possible, but sometimes we cannot follow the influx. So here you have the same, for example, for volunteering initiative. So it goes really like soft initiatives to quite expanding initiatives. A soft initiative is, for example, a hotline organized by an association for lonely people. So if you're lonely in your community, you can just call for a small chat. For elderly people, this is very important because they cannot receive any visit anymore. So we see that many initiatives are starting to have some calling services, etc. This is, for example, digital youth movement, where people are organizing youth activities in the weekend for children because the scouting movement, for example, is not active anymore. We have BrewDog, for example, and that is also what you see in the many examples in your spheres, is that many alcohol distilleries and breweries are starting to make sanitizers, so hand sanitizer, etc. So all these type of things that were initiated from the social economy are listed here. So you see, you can have a look at it. You can also share. No, it's not loading. So this is basically what we have been doing. But okay, listing something is one thing. You need to do something with it as well. And therefore we started our online sessions. I'm sorry, but my internet connection is apparently not the best one today. Okay, so it follows. To really highlight and to go more in detail about what these cases are doing, because as I said, it's one thing to just list everything in an Excel file, and then it's very nice to be out of there, but maybe we had to go a bit further and to share the expertise. So that's why we started online sessions. Last week we started the first one. It was more an introductory one, so on the role of platforms, commons, and Fab Labs. We invited 3 speakers. This was a speaker from Slovenia, Michel Bouwens, which is quite known Belgian in the commons world, but actually all over Europe, and Yvonne from the Netherlands. So we try to make a short summary of what they are contributing with the PowerPoints, all the links, because especially in this session there was a huge share of similar links. And we try to give an overview of what have been said. We also refer every session in the AOB to what the cluster collaboration platform is doing. So some of the highlights and of course the links to make people aware. And there about this, I maybe have some questions. So the first one last week was Emilia from Slovenia. What she basically does is run a FabLab network in Slovenia, and she linked this to a digital innovation hub. So she channels the money from a digital innovation hub to local maker spaces, and she believes very much in the principle where you connect the 4 dots. So the 4 dots are enterprises, so local SMEs, to education with some support from the government and with the civil society. So basically, what they are trying to do in regular times as well is to offer machinery from local SMEs in the weekend, for example, to maker spaces to develop some technology. To develop new means and tools to be used in the local society. Many of these initiatives are focused on agriculture and on tourism. I will not go more in detail, but you will find definitely the examples over here. And she also is now, she turned many of the maker spaces into maker spaces for the Corona. So they are also developing platforms, aid services for people who have no food delivery anymore, who have no family to help them. So this is a web tool, Pomoc na dlani. It's helping hand translated. This is basically how to connect. It's what we have discussed also in the webinar yesterday on volunteers and their engagement. You can have this is a very interesting PowerPoint because it gives really the overview of the structure, and this is for me very meaningful for the future, because this shows how SMEs can also work together locally with civil society and in a bigger partnership, and that is what she has been doing for several years. By the way, this is her website from FabLab Slovenia, where you can also have a look at the initiatives they are doing. The second one was Yvonne from Code4NL, which is a spin-off of WAG Society. David, with who I had a chat yesterday, is very known with WAG Society. We invited WAG a few weeks ago at the commission to explain what they are doing in the commons world, and it's basically a citizens research organization. So it's not a university, it's really research on civil society action and movement. So they have also a voluntary coding, not a school, but a voluntary coding, a web community. And they are now fully focusing on the Corona. So this is their webpage. This is Help Against Corona, and they are in contact with a few other initiatives in Germany, Romania, and in Poland. So what they are trying to do is not only developing solutions for themselves, for the Netherlands, and this is what Yvonne has showed in the webinar, but they also try to get in contact, for example, with Polish communities. This is the outcome of a Polish hackathon. They all translated in Dutch, and they try to use this also to develop solutions in the Netherlands. And the two most interesting ones are these ones. The first one is comparable Zeppelin to what has been doing by the youth movement community I have told you before. So it's really an online activity for leisure, for free time, for people that are bored out, to give them some good online meaningful time. And the other one is really like the one we see a lot, is to connect demand and supply for people who wants to help. So it's really interesting that they are in touch also with other international communities, and they're also in the wider commons world, let's say. So this is how they focus. Here it's like a huge list of tools to analyze data from Corona. So for example, a self-assessment if you would have symptoms of Corona, so that this data is available for the medical services to see in which regions there is like a big issue coming. So it's also it's anticipating through data on where Corona problems might happen. So this existed already three weeks ago, when it was very useful, definitely in the Netherlands. And this is a tracker for local response to Corona. So it's really to see what is happening in your area from civil society, but also from the government. They also work together with the local government to support businesses who have liquidity issues. So therefore they developed an app, because the government had done this before, but it was really a very unuseful app. The interface was not working well, so they developed an interface for the government to make it more accessible for SMEs to find their way into the support measures of the government if they were in liquidity crisis or others. And then we got Michelle Michel is a bit like a guru, let's say, on the Commons world. He's very known in the whole Commons world, and he gave us a bit an introduction in what Commons are, how they work, and how they can be more adapted in structural models, because the Commons world is very active in the digital spheres. And as a philosophy, but not very much embedded in structures and institutions. And he gave us the hint to the Bologna regulation, which is something I have to say, and it's really pity that I never heard about it because it's very interesting. Bologna regulation dated from 2011 and is really focusing on the cooperation between different actors on a local level. It's really for regeneration. So I opened a small page of Eurocities, who is also much promoting this type of actions by citizens to get engaged with the government, to get engaged with the research, and to get engaged with the SMEs, and to make a sort of a testimonial place in urban cities to create common spaces, so where everybody can benefit and which is for the general good. This is much promoted right now, of course, because thanks to this Bologna regulation in Bologna itself, but it was duplicated in many other Italian cities. There was a lot of freedom to produce and to start testing alternatives for medical equipment. So because of the heavy administration and regulation in Italy before, this would not have been possible. So thanks to this Bologna regulation, a lot of possibilities from the civil society came as a solution, or responses from civil society came as a solution for this crisis. So this is maybe something where we also can learn the building blocks. It's really built like a regulation. So yeah, again, my PDF is not loading, but I will send you the link if you see how it works. How it is listed, it's really written like a real even European regulation. So this is what Michel also introduced, and he also shared his P2P wiki, which is a Wikipedia for the Commons, where he also lists a lot of initiatives, especially in the medical device development for the Corona crisis. So this is a page specifically dedicated also per country to actions that are done from the Commons world. Also some research and data, which is often forgotten and is very necessary and interesting. So this was about the first session. The second session was yesterday. I was very happy to see that some of you were participating. Yesterday was specifically on platforms. So how do you design local platforms to help people that are in need, and how do you connect volunteers towards organizations that are looking for volunteers or just individuals? How do you also engage with SMEs to do that? So the first speaker was Bart Wolput from Impact Days in Belgium. Even though I'm from Belgium, I never heard about this concept, but the other concept, which is Give a Day. And they adapted it to the Corona crisis. So what they basically do is they offer a platform towards not a social economy, but towards communities, not communities, but municipalities and cities. So they run for the municipality and the city the exchange platform of volunteers to bring in touch the people that want to help something together with enterprises that are looking for or non-profit or individuals. And I have just opened the Brussels one, so this is how it looks like. These are all the partners, and here it's very hands-on. It's super easy how it works. And here are vacancies for help. So you see the differences are huge. So it's writing letters for people, elderly people. It's just drawing classes for children, for people who have to work, so they can get some attraction. Going to the post office, making these phone calls for loneliness, going to pharmacy, making face masks. You see the big amount of registration. So people who signed in that were volunteering to help in these type of firms. Also in the list I have showed before, there is a big.
Sorry, Karel.
Yeah.
If we want to fit with the schedule, you have
Okay.
2 minutes.
No,
2
that's
minutes.
perfect. That's perfect. I'm almost at the end. I'm almost at the end. No, it will fit perfectly. So I just opened a Brussels page to see how it works, but they are doing it right now in I don't know how many, but I think almost half of Belgian municipalities, and now they are expanding to I don't think I have opened the page over here. They are expanding to the whole of Europe because they developed this website in 27 languages. And they made the platform available for free for Corona initiatives. So to have really a quick Corona response. So in Belgium, there are 28 Corona helping platforms. I will just switch to English. So you can read with me. So this is basically what it, so this is the interface for one city or municipality. They have a same interface, but it's working separate. So the city civil servants can run it themselves, but they give the support and the offer. And now for Corona purposes, they offer it for free. This is a social enterprise. So there is no profit engaged. It's a cooperative. Every profit that they make, they invest in reaching out to new territories. Their aim is to have 500 million volunteers in 5 years. So thanks to the Corona, they almost tripled it, the amount of volunteers. No, they went from 15,000 they had before Corona to now, I think 150,000. So that's already a huge progress. But I need to hurry up to go to the second one, which is Coop des Communs. It's a French cooperative. It's basically a research cooperative to experiment on commons and platforms. So they are representing the platform cooperatives movement, which is on the junction between the sharing economy, so the digital sharing economy and the social economy. What they are doing is basically developing a mass of platforms to help society and to help businesses locally in their activities. I will just show you one because they have showed 5. You can all go through them from, and this is very one. So they made Ethic BNB open for care people that were working in hospitals but were living quite far away from the hospital, so they could search for another living near the hospital. So people that want to open their house as an Airbnb principle, but of course in a sustainable way. So they made it also available for free. But the one I want to show you is the most expanded one, is the Open Food Network. It's basically a digital platform to match suppliers locally to buyers locally. And they also added some Corona features to do delivery for people in need that cannot go to the supermarket because many value chains are disrupted, are not working anymore. Just to show you how it is working, and unfortunately the internet is not loading the map, because normally this map of France is full of dots, and from the biggest city to the smallest. Okay, now you can see it. So this is all. This represents everywhere a local hub, an online selling market where local food producers can sell directly without having to pay a lot of fees to distribution supermarkets to the local consumer. And this is what they developed, and they add also some services towards Corona to do free delivery for people that cannot get to the supermarket. So this is the last example I wanted to show you. There are many more, but you can find every part of information. Yesterday I made this summary to give you a short introduction with all the links, the presentations, also some extra links that were added by participants, and of course the cluster response portal. By the way, all the recordings are available, so if you're too lazy to read, you can just sit back and listen to what we have been discussing. So thank you very much. This is a very small introduction in what social economy is doing, and also what the Commission tries to do to support these people in their wonderful actions. Thank you.
You are really welcome, Karel, and thanks you very much for the effort to summarize so quickly so much work. And yes, and it's wonderful. I am really amazed how much initiatives and how good are them. Okay, so now it's time to go to the next block. It's about needs. I know there will be a lot of comments and questions, but the proposal is to make them through stating needs, mm, and later we will speak about possible solution for needs. That way we could, we think that we could take the best advantage of the time that we have. Okay, you can make comments and questions in the Slido area. Here you have the link, okay, to do that. If you go to Slido, we could share the screen there and comment on it. Okay, you have there the possibility to comment. So now it's the floor for everyone. About needs, who is the first?
Hi, good morning. I will show myself. Hi, Anna is talking. So I will state a need. I think, especially because I was listening to all the presentation yesterday, it was very interesting. My need is to see how we can connect better all this social economy initiative and great, let's say, push from bottom up concrete needs and solutions towards other sector of the economy, because I think we still are very disconnected with all these initiatives. And yeah, my need really, and that goes for also the life science sector, and especially because of this change and of this crisis, to see how we can improve the connection between this sector that unfortunately is always called kind of the third sector, which is yeah, the goodwill and on the side. And I think definitely, and now you can see, and I'm happy that other people can see that there are great things happening and that we should connect better. So my need is, how do we connect this better? There are concrete local initiatives, but much we can do.
Thank you very much, Anais. Perfect. Next one. Another need. I will say that we need to define next steps, clear next steps on how to advance on those linking between our ecosystem cluster and innovative ecosystem with the social economy. I think that we have a lot of potentials. Another need.
Hi, I'm Juan Manuel from Aragon. I think we need to know what social economy agents are near from us, from each one of us, so we can connect, like said Anais before. Thanks.
Very good.
Excuse me, could you repeat, because I didn't understand very well.
Yeah, we need to know which agents of social economy are near from
Agents.
us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Another one.
May I?
Yeah,
I'm Toni Caro from Deusto in Bilbao. I think what we need is ways to translate which are the needs from different agents that are very different from each other or have different needs in different moments. So it's something with the place to meet and also with these profiles of people making the link between them, because usually we are working in different fields or in different ways of doing things traditionally, and we have to do things in a different way. So I would say the need, and to be concrete, is places to meet and also people to make the links and build these ecosystems in a more organized or common shared prosperity and common good targets, just bringing everybody together.
Thank you, Tony. Morning.
May I? Is Vasco speaking. Good morning, everybody. It's a suggestion because today we
Needs.
yes, it's just an introduction to the need. It's just an introduction because today we are dealing with this, but after the crisis, all the effort may disappear. So I think that we should connect this with the schools. So in order to anticipate further problems and to show them that the technology can help a little bit. So I think this should be connected to the schools, at least after the crisis.
Thank you, Vasco. More. I think that we need to look for ways to make profit or make homologate or include in our regular products or systems that initiatives and that products and that prototypes that the commons are creating, and to improve that way. More.
Can I come in once again or not?
You are allowed. Yes.
Okay. Now,
quickly.
Because before the crisis, we have seen that many clusters are more and more working on SDGs and sustainability. And many of them also understood that social economy might be a good partner for them. But therefore, to translate it again in a need, if we need to work more on SDGs, how can we really make structural relationships specifically on the delivery of SDGs?
Perfect. Thank you. Our needs.
Yeah, Annie is talking. Just one need regarding the, let's say, the documentation or the numbers actually of social economy, because I think Ariel mentioned yesterday, but in terms of numbers, how many people it reaches, so to understand better the impact of all these initiatives, I think it's also important because this helps for other sectors to understand that it's not just social will. So for me, the need to put forward concrete numbers and impact of of these initiatives, because that helps to show that to other people that we talk this kind of economic language, for example.
Yeah, I will say that we need to.
Respond to that, I guess.
Yes, Karel, go on.
Can I? No, because 10% of businesses in Europe are a member of the social economy or social economy organizations. So that is much underestimated. And also 30 million employees are working within the social economy. So in terms of economic impact, it's a quite big sector, but just because it's so scattered, and the activities are so wide and really present in every sector except for space and defense, maybe it's just not known enough. It's not one niche sector, and that is a bit the issue that we have in the social economy. But it's a quite huge phenomenon.
So we need to clarify it and make it visible and convince our politicians about it. Okay, I totally agree. There is people here from, I see Rosa from La Curva, I see Leitat also here. Please state your needs.
I arrived late, so I'm not going to participate at least in this point, because I'm not allowed to.
Okay, the question in this block is, what do you need in order to improve your performance, what you are doing? What main needs do you have?
Can I speak?
For sure.
Ilaria from Italy. I'm asking myself how all of these energies can help us also in facing the unemployment problem and the mismatch between the skill gap that companies are facing, and also before the crisis, but for sure in this moment and after, and the need of competencies and the unemployment rate. So this is
Perfect. Thank you, Ilaya. More needs.
If I can add one more after my chat I had with David yesterday, it was very clear for me that he stated that apparently during this crisis it is very notable that many SMEs are not investing that much anymore in R&D. Of course, you cannot say this as a general statement, but more and more SMEs are have no full R&D compartment anymore, and that suddenly in this crisis they are forced or they are volunteering to do that again, and they used a lot of the commons knowledge to do so. So maybe that can learn us also a little bit on how the commons world might get closer to what SMEs are doing, not only for their proper business but also for the societal prosperity or local economic activity. I know it's a quite abstract need, but on the other hand, it becomes very, very concrete in this crisis, because suddenly many SMEs are working with open software, with open innovation, with open development, and the whole tradition of commons, where probably before they were never in touch with this. So my biggest need is how can we build these maintain these linkages more structurally. I took it also a bit in my presentation, but that is for me, let's say, the number one question, and I think that a cluster might be a perfect vehicle to embed the commons more structurally or institutionally in the local economic activity. But it's rather a question than a need, maybe. But I think this crisis shows that it should be like that.
Antonio, if I could come in here also?
For sure, Ula.
Yeah, so because building on what Karel said before, the need, and maybe also how can we link better the clusters and the social economy, and particularly if you look at a single cluster, how much civil society is now, how much interactions do you have? How are your relations with, on one hand, civil society, and on the other hand, also with regional authorities, where you might have stronger links? So I think my need would also to be understanding, is this something which, particularly after the crisis, we should develop more? Is this really needed? Or is this then more something artificial, which is not needed? So I would think about, do we have a need there? So my question is this a need?
Very interesting, Ula. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share just a comment? I want to thank Ula, because I strongly believe that this is a need. And I am sure that linking better clusters with civil society can also enhance the community sense in the clusters.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
This is a personal comment to Karel and Ula's comment. It's true that SMEs are reducing their R&D capacities, and mostly because it's very expensive, very complicated, and clusters are driving that. We are providing them with a collaborative environment to give them the services and the opportunities to be involved in R&D projects, and develop the innovation through us. Okay, so for me it will be natural, and we are jumping to the solutions. Okay, that's the next block.
Can I make one more?
For sure.
Sorry, because it's of course it's going to really the roots of a potential issue and why these worlds were not connected before. Because the commons are not used to make, for example, money on data or privacy related issues. By de facto, everything is open, but still there are many business models built around common development or open software and innovation. It's just the added value lays somewhere else. So usually it's the service that builds around the creation that gives a business model, and not, for example, the harvesting of the data in a quite aggressive way. So for me, the question is also, and that is very similar to what many SMEs are doing, because in the end, it's really the big corporates and the big platforms that creating this added value in a quite aggressive way. So I think there might be a quite close connection between what smaller SMEs are doing and the commons, but still they need to somehow talk the same language, and that is really the biggest question, how to bridge this gap right now.
Perfect.
Because we need to be honest, there are many differences as well. So.
Perfect. So we jump to solutions, okay? And it's your turn again for solutions. What solution would you suggest?
Hi, it's Anais again. I like this subject, I'm sorry. I think in terms of solution, I have a few that we are testing anyways. First, with the clusters to ensure this social perspective, which I think is not that difficult, especially again, because of this opportunity, unfortunate, but opportunity to bridge let's say what society and social movement can bring to the cluster. So for example, on the life sciences is to ensure, let's say, patients are involved somehow. Also citizen science is mentioned to the cluster manager, so they can bring it back also to their discussion and to services and debates that they might have. So that's, I think, an easy one for cluster to put. And the second one is to ensure the monitoring of this, because as Carol said at the beginning, this is a huge sector, but unfortunately very underestimated because of its own nature. And there are ways and there are methodology to measure it better. I use personally, for example, social return on investment, but those are things that can be done at a more concrete level and especially in local initiative, and that gives concrete number that we can show. And I think that's absolutely needed, and that there are solutions to monitor this. So those would be, let's say, the two first steps. And also for future projects, always try to keep in mind to bring some social economy actors within the game. And I think in research project, this is something that is slowly getting in the way. So for example, always having the end users to have their say. And I think for clusters, this is also, especially with what Ilaria said about the skills, that is something that can be discussed with the social sector. Those are my ideas.
Wonderful. Why not to increase the reach of the European Cluster Coalition platform and map all the social economy initiatives in Europe?
If I can add to that, because now it's getting interesting. Of course, it's not the first time that social economy is looking at clusters. And since 1 year, we have a specific expert group within the social economy community to map also existing social economy clusters. Because it was something completely new. We did not know if it would exist, if similar forms would exist among social economy stakeholders, and it was a bit of a surprise, but quite a lot of them exist. The only issue is they don't call themselves clusters, but if you see how they are organized, they often have also a separate legal form. For example, they have a cluster manager, they have membership fees, etc. Just the only difference is the aim. So they they want to become a cluster for local economic and societal development and not for sectoral competitiveness. And that is what we have seen. So we have done a whole mapping of about 40 in the meantime 45 social economy clusters, and what we are doing is discussing right now with the colleagues of the platform to also include them in the cluster collaboration platform to make them also visible. This will be done in the next few months, so we are now also adapting a bit the criteria to make them a bit more suitable. For example, the legal forms, many are organized in a cluster. The cluster organization is organized like a cooperative. This legal form was not yet visible in the mapping. So this is what we are doing right now. And then the next step, of course, is how to bring closer together these social economy clusters. We call them clusters of social and ecological innovation, but that's more like a scientific approach. The name is not important. It's rather make them visible and also make the social economy members aware that pooling resources in a cluster might bring them way more benefit, not only from a social point of view, but also from the economic point of view. Just one short sentence to wrap up. If we have seen, when we saw the reason for the members of these social economy clusters to get into a cluster, a lot of them had real economic reasons to access new markets, to create more innovation, to get access to more research, etc. So in the end, they are not that different from many SME clusters.
Thank you very much, Karen. More solutions.
Can I?
For sure.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is how we increase the level of integration between the different actors and stakeholders. And what we are finding is that one of the issues is motivation. Each of the actors have an interest. It can be economic in many cases, but also depending on the approach or the nature, it's also a social one or responding to any challenge of the community. So what happens if we had a place where we can state the needs of the community or the needs of a sector or the needs of a cluster that needs to incorporate different expertise, but different views and different solutions. And because if you have the sense of the problem, you get, that's what's happening now with the COVID, right? That we have a global problem. We are all committed to that. It's very urgent. So if we put the number of challenges we have, I think different people can react to that from different angles and with different solutions. So it's a matter on how we pose those problems and how we get people coming together to work from different solutions. I have shared in the chat the position paper we built together with different stakeholders on this social innovation ecosystem. So I think it can be interesting to read. And I can also make some presentation if you find us interesting in some of the sessions in the following weeks, just to give an idea on how the quintuple or N-helix, so because it's not only the triple helix or the quadruple quintuple, but it can be many different interconnections of stakeholders coming together just to find a solution. So, well, I don't want to be longer with this, but I can offer to explain a little bit in another session if that's interesting.
I think so. You are invited for sure.
Yeah.
We will speak about that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
More solutions. I will say that a map where we can visualize as much initiatives as possible, not only cluster, but all the different social economy initiatives that you are recording in your website would be wonderful, because that way we could look for initiatives in our region, our city, in a far better way.
Antonio, maybe we could already make now also much clearer link on the existing ECCP to particular also the collection of what Karel has done, and maybe even share more this link to this website where they have published the ongoing activities. It's a kind of way of inspiration. We should maybe then Karel, we should afterwards take it further with Christoph and see how we can with the ECCP on the particular portal we have make a link and have a special entry on this. That this is one way to go via local initiative.
Yeah, and you could use also the forum. You have a special area for category for social aspects, but you could also use the forum on offering help or requesting help and sharing best practice. So for sure, we are offering you the possibility to use the ECCP forum also for this this area. More questions or more suggestions, sorry. Solutions.
If I can share one more initiative, maybe that is really a guiding one, in my opinion.
Do you want the screen? Do you have?
Yeah, I can just maybe show it by sharing my screen. It's an initiative I found out half a year ago. It's Torino Social Impact. I just opened the page who we are, because it's an alliance, and this is really like this multi-stakeholder approach. Companies, so regular SMEs, public-private institutions in Turin, and basically it's a cluster of skills, activity, services to strengthen and promote a local ecosystem in the framework of the Agenda 2030. But it's really interesting. If you see, they gather more than 80 partners, and they are quite new. But if you see what kind of activities they are carrying out and how it's really structured, it's quite impressive. So they have, for example, an observatory created for new forms of social entrepreneurship. They connect with the university to have education on social impact embedded in many courses. So they create themselves courses. They have a training center. And I had to go actually to what we do to the project, because there you see, and that is why I was talking about the R&D. They have research on circular economy, which is very valuable for many regular SMEs. They have a technology development center, so where they work not only, this is the one on data, but they have also one specifically on 3D printing. They work on social procurement, and they have, and that's the last one I wanted to. This one, the regeneration of public and private spaces, so where they really reinstall spaces for the commons. This has nothing to do with business, but it's just to show you that some things might be very valuable for business, others for society, and what they do is pool really the different resources together for all these different projects. You see, they have already quite a lot, and they are quite fresh. This is for me a guiding principle how a cluster might open up on a more territorial city level towards SMEs, and how SMEs could also contribute on the local economic and societal impact. Just to show you, and this is one of the clusters we have mapped, but as I said, we have many more, but this is one of the most clear ones. So I've shared the link with you in the chat as well. Thank you.
Yeah, really welcome. Who else? More solutions. So we have 4 minutes and to close. And as I said at the beginning, we should look for concrete actions that we could follow and next steps. What would you propose?
I really would work on these spaces and people that are acting as matchmakers. That is really what we need. That was already highlighted in the needs, but we really need on I think on city level or regional level some spaces where different actors can meet physically to also get to, because now what we are doing is online, but this should maybe also happen in a physical way in territories itself, because then people find really the added value of cooperation with each other, and sometimes also not. Sometimes they are just completely out of each other's scope and there is no synergy possible, but that's also good to know. But I'm always sure if you bring many people around a common idea together in a physical space, there might be some interesting collaboration for the future, and that is something we can really stimulate more via clusters.
Very good. So we need to plan how to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
How to involve cities probably, or regions, and yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would add to that also the role of the technology and the digital platforms to connect the local with the global, and because I think many of the challenges we are having nowadays is a global or a more international or general problem that affects the local community, and to learn how other people are doing things or which are the solutions that are being found somewhere else, and to share them, I think is important. So I like this page from Torino, but also these samples you are giving, because give us food for thought and also examples. And is, for example, in the Basque Country, we are very entrepreneurs, but also we have this social economy and social innovation very much in our blood. So how we share all that we are doing with others and how we connect we call local communities.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think that's important around the societal impacts of things. So we make real impacts on people's life and also economy and development.
I will encourage you to use now the COVID-19 Response Forum in the ECCP. You have the link there, okay? To speak and dialogue about this during the next weeks, and we could grow through based on what we are saying there also, okay? Tony, please, for example, share your work, your paper, your proposal, okay, and we could speak on it. More solutions. I would say that we need to make an exercise of ordering what the next step we could do, okay? And as we could plan, if you agree, we could plan another session for next week with Karel and whoever is interested. Tony, perhaps you could share your, with some minutes, you could share your work, okay? But I will propose to work in the meantime, just to try to agree on some concrete steps, okay, and work on them during the next session if you see it interesting. Do we agree on that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just to close, I really would like to know also some concrete requests that are coming from SMEs and clusters towards the social economy, because it should not always the other way around. It's not always a social economy that should ask for reaction from the SMEs. There is so much potential in the social economy. I gave some flavor about it, so maybe that might bring also some added value. For example, this impact days, they create voluntary platforms for employees and interaction between SMEs as well. And so that is a very concrete example how social economy serves or provides a service towards companies directly, just to give you one example. But it would be good to know more concrete what you might expect from this world, and also some issues where you see some issues of failing connection, that we can work on that as well.
Perfect.
And now I will
That's
shut up.
that's a clear need. You need to know from our
Exactly.
side. Perfect. Thank you very much, Karel. So it's time. Thank you everyone for your participation. We will agree with Karel and whoever is interested in next session for next week. But we continue speaking through the email if you want, but mostly through the forum, please. Have a very healthy and good day and week. Bye.
Bye. See
Adeus,
you.
bom dia. Bom dia, adeus, obrigada.
Thank
Bom
you
dia.
very much. We stay.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye bye.